Ladies and gentlemen, let's get wiggly. It's time for another episode of the Weekly. This week, I want to kick things off by taking a look around the bend, just like we always do. And now, just kind of looking out my window here around the bend, there's really not much going on. I think I'm kind of driving down a desert road today around the bend. Maybe a couple cacti. See some cacti. It looks like a vulture. It's actually eating something. Is that a man's? No, it's not an arm. Actually, it looks like a Kinect. Oh dear God, he's ripping the Kinect's internal components out. Yeah, that Kinect is definitely dead. Anyhow, there isn't really much happening around the bend, unfortunately, as you can see. Next week is kind of the end of the month, and it's just kind of gonna go silent. November is gonna be a much bigger month and a much bigger week. The beginning of November, because the Xbox One X will be releasing alongside of a bunch of other good stuff. Instead, really, I wanted to ask you guys which of the 3 games that are dropping today you'll be playing this weekend. We've got Assassin's Creed Origins, Super Mario Odyssey, and Wolfenstein 2. I plan on playing all of them at some point, but I'm gonna get a little bit emotional here for a second. I'm actually really genuinely hyped about Super Mario Odyssey, not just because it's a new Super Mario game, but because I'm gonna be sitting down in my first home with Michelle playing the game on our couch together. In the same way that I sat down with my mom and played the original Mario and Super Mario 64 on the couch with her and my brother, there's just something really powerful about Nintendo games because they were such an integral part of my gaming experience at a very, very young age. The first games I played were Nintendo games. So that emotional connection is incredibly strong, and being able to sort of do it all over again with someone who is newer to my life, but someone who I love just as much as I loved my mom and my brother, with a Mario game in my first house, that's really powerful. And on top of the fact that everybody keeps saying Super Mario Odyssey is really good, it's something I'm really looking forward to doing. So feel free to let me know your thoughts, guys, about any of those 3 games. Which ones are you going to be playing this weekend? You plan on playing them with some friends? Let me know down in the comment section below. Now let's go ahead and roll right into the meat of the chaos that occurred over the last 7 days. A lot of Microsoft related stuff, but first let's start with some new Nintendo related stuff. Animal Crossing is coming to mobile devices, much like Fire Emblem Heroes and Super Mario Run, in the form of Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, where you set up a campsite. I'm really hoping that Tom Nook doesn't show up, although I think he will, because the game is going to be using a free-to-play format. So while you'll be able to fish and catch bugs and, dress up your campsite, it's going to be going the route of Fire Emblem Heroes, free-to-play with paid timers and microtransactions. Now, the reason that Nintendo is doing this is simply because of the numbers. We, the gamers, made Fire Emblem Heroes a more successful game financially than Super Mario Run. So even though Super Mario Run was sold in rather large numbers at $10 a pop, it didn't outperform Fire Emblem Heroes, which cost $0. This goes hand in hand with what I talked about yesterday. The idea that there's that small number of people who spend an extra large sum of money to sort of cover everybody else, and in this instance, make a game that was free sell better than a game that was $10. So that is indeed why they're going the same route. That being said, I'm still looking forward to it. Super Mario Run to me was a phenomenal game, more than worth my $10. I got a lot of time on it. I loved competing with my friends on it, checking our scores back and forth, going back to levels and trying to beat the other person's time and score. It was fun. If Animal Crossing can capture even half of the essence of what makes Animal Crossing special on mobile, it'll be worth picking up and playing every now and then. I'm not a big mobile gamer, but it'll be cool, and I guess I'll be happy to know that I can just not spend any money on it. But to be honest, that's one of the things I loved about Mario. $10, buy it, forget it, and that's the end of it. Instead, I'll be playing Animal Crossing if I ever really get into it. Like, I'm sitting waiting for Michelle to get out of work or something, or she's running late and I'm picking her up, and I get into it, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, Tom Nook shows up. Hey, you dastardly kid. If you want to keep playing, that's going to be $10. That's such a Tom Nook thing too, man. Isn't he the perfect character for a free-to-play game with paid microtransactions and timers? That son of a bitch. Anyhow, let's move on and talk Xbox with some very exciting news. The first 13 original Xbox games are now available in backwards compatibility on the Xbox One. This is absolutely awesome, guys. This is something that obviously Microsoft announced a while back. We've been waiting for it. And the first 13 games, there's some good stuff in there, man. We got Black, we got Dead to Rights. Dead to Rights was insane for its time. I can't wait to go back and play it. Ninja Gaiden Black, KOTOR, Fusion Frenzy, Crimson Skies. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff in this list. Psychonauts. And here's the real kicker. As is with all backwards compatibility when it comes to Xbox, if you have the disc, just plug it in, download a small update, play to your heart's content. The games have also been improved in terms of resolution, frame rate, and loading times, which is fantastic. If you don't own these games, rather than scouring the internet and paying $100 for a copy of Ninja Gaiden Black, you can just buy them digitally for $9.99. Now, I know a few people are going to moan and groan, well, are they like $4? But let's be real. There was a lot of work that was put into making original Xbox games work on the Xbox One. That's more that can be said for other platforms, which are just throwing original games out of the way or finding ways to charge you for them and not giving you any option to just play them if you own them. I mean, that's the big thing here. It's the one thing that Microsoft is doing that no one else is doing. If you have the disc, just put it in the Xbox and play it. It doesn't get better than that. So I will be more than happy to spend $10 to buy another copy of Dead to Rights so I can relive my Dead to Rights memories. That's something I would definitely love to do on the channel, because I wonder, I mean, that game was, in my opinion, I remember it being revolutionary. I remember reading the magazines and they were doing a bunch of really cool stuff with the characters and with the gameplay. And I hope I can look back at it and be like, wow, this game was actually badass. But Xbox is giving us the ability to do that without hulking out your OG Xbox out of storage and plugging it in somewhere. Really excited about that. Now, more Microsoft and Xbox related stuff. On top of the 4K upgrades we're getting for certain games on the Xbox One when it goes to the Xbox One X, the Xbox One X is also going to be improving some of our 360 games that are already in backwards compatibility. So Assassin's Creed, Halo 3, Oblivion, and Fallout 3 are all getting Xbox One X improvements that are going to overhaul the textures, load times, and performance of those games. There's already some comparisons up on IGN, and they are noticeable. The textures especially are much cleaner. Basically, you can go back and play games that looked really good for their time, that still in some instances look really good today, in a much cleaner fashion. Honestly, Microsoft is, maybe unknowingly shaping the future of how we play retro games, rather than forcing us to, basically rip out old consoles and plug them all in, which some people will always love doing that. And I think it's cool that we can still have that. But making retro gaming more accessible by making it available on the current generation platforms, that's a powerful concept, and if 10 years from now we're playing on some universal platform or we're playing on a Microsoft platform and we have all these retro games that are it can be upscaled or played in their original format right then and there, that's going to be really crazy. That's like ROMs being pushed out by the people who made the products when they originally came out, rather than being hidden on the internet and sort of being taboo, and you got to download an emulator and all this stuff. I just think that's cool, and I'm more than happy to pay for that sort of stuff if it's well curated and if we do get those big improvements or even slightly substantial improvements like we're seeing with stuff happening with Xbox One X and these 360 games. Killer move. Now we got to get to the sad part of the Microsoft news, because the Kinect is officially dead. I told you guys, I saw it. It was around the bend. The vulture was eating its eyeballs out. The reality is, the Kinect was always dying. It's been dead for a long time. It's been an unfortunate life cycle for that piece of hardware, because I think the Kinect is actually a really cool tool. And even the original was shown to be really powerful. In many instances, people were using the Kinect, the original, hooking it up to their PC via some software editing and hardware modifying, and using it for facial tracking and using it for really cool stuff. And the latest Kinect on the Xbox One was really powerful. Just there was no money going into the creation of games for it, and then when there were games, they were made cheaply and they weren't well. They didn't demonstrate the power of the hardware, or they didn't utilize the hardware intelligently. And we had a few good experiences here and there, but the majority was nonsense. Nobody wanted anything to do with it. And then you can bet your bottom that a developer doesn't want to make products for a piece of hardware that simply isn't selling. The thing is, when you look at the Kinect and the things it was best at, these are things that no one is really interested in, like facial tracking and motion tracking. The PC already has this stuff with products like TrackIR, and while the TrackIR does well, it fits into a very small community that uses it for games like Arma, DCS, Elite Dangerous. It's not in the majority. It's not a part of the mainstream gaming experiences. You don't see DICE using TrackIR for head tracking in Battlefield 1, So even the things the Kinect was really good at, from an easier to develop standpoint, it just wasn't mainstream. It was nothing that someone was ever interested in. So while it will probably reside on some people's desks and television centers as a voice command tool, which it's pretty good at, that is indeed the end of production for the Kinect, and most likely the soon-to-be end support of the Kinect as a whole. Let's talk Halo Master Chief Collection. This is a sore spot for a lot of people, right? I'm gonna get my thoughts out of the way before we even go into this. I never expected Master Chief Collection, the multiplayer side of things, to work. Outside of custom games with friends, which you can still do, which is killer. Having all those Halo games, being able to custom party, do LAN parties and stuff, even if you wanted to, is killer. But the idea of it all matchmaking and working well to me was insane. Like, it's hard enough to get matchmaking to work on one game, let alone the ecosystem of multiple games within a system that has multiple playlists across those multiple games. You know, it relied on so many people playing the game in order for that to work, and as great as Halo is, you know, I don't think it was ever going to garner enough people in its player base for the matchmaking to work well, and it ended up struggling endlessly. You know, there was just connection issues, there were tons of problems, some of which didn't need to be there, some of which had to be there because it was just the difficulty of it all. In the end, I have never looked at 343 and said, give me my money back, because I got my money's worth even without the multiplayer. I got custom matchmaking multiplayer, I got all the single player and co-op experiences, I got Halo 2 Anniversary. To me, it was always just a big, long nostalgia trip. I was disappointed that I didn't get to enjoy that first month of just replaying Halo 2 multiplayer with my friends like I wanted to, but that's the way it was with it. So now 343 is saying, with the latest tools available in the most recent Xbox OS, they're going to be able to overhaul the architecture of Master Chief Collection's matchmaking and finally get things up and running. I applaud them for not abandoning this and sticking with it. I applaud them also for giving us Halo ODST like they did. And if the servers come online and things suddenly work gloriously and consistently, most importantly, I do think people will go back and play it. I think right now, especially as like Halo 3 is making its way into backwards compatibility, people are going to be itching for Halo 2. They're going to be itching for, you know, Halo Combat Evolved. They're going to be wanting to play these games in a multiplayer setting, and Master Chief Collection gives you a convenient way to do that. So if it all works, I do think they'll get players. I know I would be one of those players. Nonetheless, again, hate aside, I applaud 343 for sticking with it and doing whatever they can to try and overcome this substantial issue, obviously. Let's talk Grand Theft Auto 5 single player DLC, because it's not happening. It was never going to happen. I feel like I never expected them to do single player DLC after GTA Online took off, and that's pretty much what Rockstar is saying in this interview. They claim it wasn't necessary or possible. Putting the possible side away, which when you look at the fact that they are trying to develop other larger products like Red Dead Redemption, I can understand that. It's the not necessary thing that really hits home. GTA Online almost failed. At launch, it was a disaster. It was one of the worst launches I've ever participated in. It took 3 days for things to even start to work, and a lot of people were excited for it. You know, they never expected millions of players day one to sort of dive into GTA Online, and for a while, it almost collapsed. You know, it was a good product that didn't have all of the fleshing out it needed, but Rockstar just kept at it. They eventually pushed it to next generation platforms where a lot of people made the jump, and things just got better and better from there. They kept adding content, Heist came into play, all of this content was free, shark cards were monetizing the game and making them money and turning a profit, and things just kept growing, and it continues to grow today with free DLC just released like 2 weeks ago. So I know why they went all in with GTA Online, and while, yeah, I would have liked more GTA single player, because I think GTA 5 was incredible in its single player, I'm okay with that because I like the things that Rockstar are doing with GTA Online. I think it's an opportunity for a developer to test the waters for multiplayer persistent gameplay and see what they can do. You know, I think GTA Online really did spark the way forward, and is doing something not a lot of games have done or possibly will do ever in the future. And that's important to me, to see a developer doing something that no one else is doing and seeing where they can take it. That's how I feel about GTA Online, and hopefully we'll see some of that evolved even further with the online component for Red Dead Redemption. I'm really looking forward to the future of what Rockstar does with that stuff. So let's wrap things up, guys, by going back to the past. Let's hop in our time machine, head back to October 26th, 2007, and talk a little bit about SSX, which released on the PlayStation 2 10 freaking years ago, guys. It's been that long already. 10 years ago, man. SSX came out and just kind of blew everybody away. I mean, that time period was very much the action sports time period. You know, Tony Hawk, Dave Mirra had a game, Matt Hoffman would eventually have a game. There was a bunch of skateboarding games. snowboarding games have been around for a while, and they were definitely very popular on the PlayStation 1 and early days PlayStation 2, and even N64 with things like 1080. We had Snowboard Kids, Cool Borders. You know, you guys have probably played a lot of that stuff, but SSX was like, let's just go all in. Let's make a really incredible, you know, snowboarding system, a game that feels great to play, just the snowboarding aspect. Let's have absurd level design, killer soundtrack, and then let's go all out and just go full arcade with the trick sets and the characters and the boards, and let's just make this really complete and incredible package that is just addictive for hundreds and hundreds of hours. And they just nailed it. They probably never said any of those things. They were never like, let's do this. They just went for something and ended up being incredible, unbelievable, and it hung around for a pretty decent chunk of time. But the original is sort of a masterpiece. I don't think that sort of game holds up well anymore, and the reboot of SSX kind of, you know, it proved that, because the reboot was phenomenal, but people just don't want to play that. That was the time period, right, where those games reigned supreme, and I don't think, at least not anytime soon, they'll reign supreme again. But it was a killer experience. I have so many good memories with it. The soundtrack especially, man. You know, Run DMC, It's Tricky, like, as the main track, was just perfect, dude. And the fact that the music got hyped up as you went tricky and did, like, the stuff when they went into SSX. Dude, it was just, that series went so many awesome places. Let me know your memories. Let me know your SSX memories down in the comment section below. Let me know what you guys plan on playing this weekend with all of those new releases, and I'll see you next week for another episode of the Weekly. Hopefully, actually I don't have to say hopefully, I happen to know there'll be a lot more around the bend than a vulture eating a dead Kinect this time. I'll see you in the next one.